You're listening to Travel Agent Chatter, Volume 31. Today we dive into an inspiring story of how health challenges led to the creation of one of the industry's most successful luxury wellness travel agencies. Lauren Pronger launched Well Inspired Travels after witnessing firsthand how travel could be transformative, not just for vacation, but for healing. And when her NHL Hall of Fame husband, Chris Pronger, joined in 2018, they created something truly unique, a luxury travel agency that doesn't just book amazing trips, but it helps clients make lasting positive changes in their lives. Their motto, every trip should improve your life in some way. And it is not about running away from your problems at home. It is about discovering something during your travels that makes life better when you return. And what really sets them apart is their holistic view on their approach to their client relationships. They act as travel matchmakers, conducting deep dive interviews with potential clients and maintaining what Chris calls a no a-hole policy. And they are not just booking trips, they're creating transformational experiences that align with their clients' wellness goals and lifestyle aspirations. So buckle in and join us for this lively interview with this dynamic duo. And before we jump into things, one thing to remember is that Host Week is coming up. And if you have never attended, boy, are you missing out. It is our free annual event for advisors the last week in January. We have a little something for everybody with host interviews, consortia interviews. We have edge spots that help both new and experienced advisors level up their game. We have keynotes from industry leaders. We've got giveaways. We've got a band that plays music for us during breaks. And we showcase your cute office pets throughout the week. What more could you ask for? So join the over 3,000 registrants that joined us in 2024 and sign up for Host Week. It is free. You can watch it live or recorded. And so you really have no excuses. You can find a link to RSVP in the description and the show notes. We'll be back in a moment after a quick word from our sponsor.
Do you find yourself struggling to promote your business on social media? Engagement, algorithms, and boosting, social media is a world of its own. Let KHM Travel Group help you grow your business with our exclusive marketing content. As a host agency, we provide agents with education and tools so you can gain new clients and post with confidence. Our online marketing hub includes graphics and videos you can use to supplement your own amazing travel photos without spending hours searching for content. We also provide one-on-one coaching and online courses to help you find what works for your travel agency. This is all in addition to the personalized support, weekly high commission payouts, and access to fun events you'll receive with KHM Travel Group. Get started today with a host agency with people-first core values. Give our team a call at 888-611-1220 or visit khmtravel.com.
I'm Steph Lee, the founder of Host Agency Reviews and your host for today's show. Today is filled with a whole bunch of firsts for us here at We have our first couple on the show. We have our first Hockey Hall of Famer, probably our last as well, and our first episode on wellness travel. And today it is going to be packed with insights for you about building a successful luxury travel business and working with clients, not for them. So Lauren and Chris Pronger have created something really special with Well Inspired Travels, and they're going to share with you how they've done it. We'll hear about their unique approach to client vetting, their wellness consulting services that help set them apart in that luxury market. And then we'll talk about what sort of unique considerations come into play when you're working with professional athletes as well as CEOs. Plus, we'll get both perspectives on what it's like to work with your spouse and how you can make it work. So links and resources that we talk about in today's show can be found in the show notes at hostagencyreviews.com/TAC and clicking on episode 31, or you can find them in the description. There is so much to go over today, and I will not keep you in suspense any longer. Lauren, Chris, welcome to Travel Agent Chatter. We are so happy to have you here.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yes. Well, so I always like to start things out with kind of giving a feel for our guests and where they came from. And so I'll start with you, Chris, because you grew up in Canada. I looked it up online, and you're just straight north of Minneapolis, which you didn't
I am
say, like
8
straight
hours.
line. Yeah, super fun. And from what I have read online, because I am not a hockey person, as I told you, you are a very talented individual. You're considered one of hockey's all-time greats. You joined the NHL at 19. You were voted an MVP for the league. You won 2 gold medals for Canada.
Look at you, Stephanie. You did your homework.
Kind of. And you were inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, and this is what's really going to impress you. You won the Triple Gold Cup.
Correct.
Wow.
And
Do you want me to tell people what the triple gold is?
well, I kind of wanted to tell people just to show
You
off.
go. Yes, Stephanie.
So for those that aren't in the know, which I am in the know, the Triple Gold Cup is where you win 3 special trophy things, and it's where you win the Olympic medal, the World Championship medal, and the Stanley Cup. Is that right?
Correct. It would be an Olympic gold medal, a World Championship gold medal, and a Stanley Cup.
Okay, and gold medals.
Yeah,
Stephanie.
well done, Stephanie.
Yeah, here's the neatest part. Only 30 people have won that. This is not a
Correct.
normal thing.
Look at you, fact checker. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys are so great for my self-esteem. So now, Chris, we've got that nailed down, because that's really a lot of what you're known for is hockey, but soon you'll be known for travel. So my question is, as you were growing up, you obviously played a bunch of hockey. Did you travel a lot, or did you have a passion for travel when you were younger? Or did this come at a later age?
We traveled a little bit as a family. We took the old family truckster and went down to Disneyland.
Florida.
You drove?
You went to
California.
California? Oh, wow.
Disneyland. We drove all the way from little old Dryden, Ontario, all the way down through the Midwest over towards California, did Disneyland, and then went straight up the coast,
Wow.
Washington, Oregon, up to Vancouver, and then all the way across. Yeah, it was like a 2 or 3 week trip.
Dedication. Yeah, wow, that's really impressive.
And by the way, this is back before the internet was alive and we had to use paper maps.
I remember that too. When
You
you lost on the back. Exactly.
Or it was travel.
Exactly. You were
Yeah.
road tripping hardcore.
That's right. It was a solid road trip. And then as I got a little further on in my teen hockey career, went over to I went to Japan, and then started traveling a little more abroad. Went to Sweden, Japan, a few places like that for hockey tournaments and things of that nature. And then started my career and really just started traveling around for my sport. Didn't do a whole lot in the off season initially until I met this young lady right here.
Yay. Well, okay, Lauren, let's chat about you, because you are another Midwestern lady, and you have an amazing story about how travel transformed you and your family's life growing up. I mean, it was just so transformational. So very early on, it also planted a seed for an interest in health and wellness. So can you tell us a little bit more about your kind of origin story and the origin story of Well Inspired Travels?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, when I was a young girl, 6 years old, my father was diagnosed with colon cancer. And, I didn't really know what chemo was. I knew that my father was very sick. And at that time, they didn't have a lot of solutions for what he was going through, and nor did they really know the extent of it. So they were bazooking his system with a ton of chemo, and it was kind of like he needed more time for Western medicine to catch up. It was a situation of the chemo going to take him down, or is the cancer going to take him down? And he was from a small town and really hadn't traveled and seen the world. And so he essentially asked the doctors, can I take the time off for maybe 3 months in the summer when my kids are out of school? Because I just want to go travel and see the world with them. And my father was very forward thinking, because this was back in the early 80s. And he specifically chose to travel all over Asia because he was very curious about Eastern medicine and holistic healing, because he knew that potentially give him the time that he needed for Western medicine to catch up, and how he could endure that pain he was going through different modalities, whether it's meditation, breath work, going through a lot of deep detoxes, essentially getting all of the toxins out of his body, the chemo and so forth. So it's very interesting where his mindset was. And so through my 6-year-old eyes, when we traveled and he was going off with these medicine men, and he was actually really gaining strength, vitality. He was eating, he was laughing, he was whole. And so I looked at yes, I
I
know.
love that.
I looked at travel as magic because I didn't know what chemo was, or when he was off of chemo, I just saw this is incredible. Not only am I loving seeing all these sights and exploring, different cuisines and hearing different languages and these wonderful people and these people that are healing my father. Talk about transformation and just seeing the healing powers for our family and certainly for my father. It really left a mark for me. And then in the wellness component, yes, witnessing my father so sick at a young age, whether you want to call it post-traumatic stress, was very traumatizing. And so I have always been very interested in health and wellness and how to stay optimal myself because of fear of genetics. And a lot of epigenetics is the environment we put ourselves in. And so I figure, well, hey, I'm going to do everything in my power to, defy the odds, if you will. And my mother had breast cancer, not once, but twice. And so really, I guess, we continue to travel as a family because that was so special to us. And it wasn't about the gifts under the Christmas tree. It was about continuing to see the world and explore the world together because my father did actually beat cancer, which is a miracle. And so we attributed a lot of that to that travel saved his life. Had he not gone abroad and learned all of these holistic healing modalities, he would not have been able to fight and endure all that he was going through. And Western medicine did eventually catch up, and he had a very radical surgery. But it's truly the merging of, more that holistic, wellness component, and then the medical component of Eastern and Western medicine. And both saved my father's life. So yeah, that's kind of the beginning of it. I don't know how much further you want me to go. If you want me to talk about when we met, or if you want me to stop there.
I am kind of curious about how you guys met. So let's throw that in there.
Well, so then you fast forward through life, and I met him when I was 21, 22, 23. Okay.
You guys,
It's been so long. It's been 25 years. It's been so long. But yeah, Chris was playing in St. Louis with the St. Louis Blues, and I had just graduated from college. And a girlfriend of mine was very interested in the backup goalie for the Blues, and she said, I need a wing woman to go to this party, and the party just so happened to be at his house. And I was nursing a breakup. I'd been with a guy for 3 years, basically through all of college, and so I was really excited about freedom, and I was applying to law schools, and I had no desire to jump back into a relationship right when this charming man across the table stepped into my life. And it was fast and furious. We met in January and he proposed in April. And then we had a 1.5 year engagement. But when you know, and he's a keeper. I'm going to keep him forever.
Love it. Love it. My parents met in January, and I think they were married in March or April. Like, no. They met in January, were engaged, I think, in March or April, married in like June or July. So,
okay.
Yeah, they feel the same way. And then there's me, who's been with my partner for 10 years and still not married.
10 years, that's good. That's good.
What's that?
How long have your parents been married?
They'll be 50 years next year. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? This year I tried to plan a 50-year celebration party, except for it wasn't this year. And that was embarrassing.
Okay. 49, 50-ish, 49-ish, 50-ish.
Yeah, I know. I was really glad because I was going to do it as a surprise. And then my siblings were like, well, you should ask them where they want it to be, like at their house or somewhere else. So I'm so glad that they had me ask them. Well, let's see. Let's move into the next segment because I want to talk about well-inspired travels. You focus on luxury wellness travel, and you got started in 18. And you had talked earlier, Lauren, about you have like a one thing philosophy, this idea that every trip that you plan should improve your client's life in some way. Can you chat more on that?
Yeah, it's really always been the foundation and the mission of Well-Inspired Travels. Obviously, coming from my father's story. And my goal is always to encourage clients to not run away from their lives at home of, so often I'm talking to clients and they say, oh gosh, I hate my job, or I'm just so out of shape, or my wife drives me nuts, or whatever it is, their complaints. I hate, anything. And I just want to run away from it. Just send me on an incredible beach vacation or what have you. And then, you know what? I'll just forget about it for a week and you're going to come right back to it. And I'm like, that does you no good. Again, going back to my father's story of the power, the healing powers, and the transformation of what the world can teach an individual is my ultimate goal is go out and seek something during your travels that's actually going to help you to feel more optimal and live a better life when you return. Just one thing. And I do believe that is why we've had such success with our business, because people really are feeling their best when they're traveling and coming back, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm ready for phase 2. What's next? What's next? What's the next challenge, Lauren? And so, yeah, so that's really really the foundation, I guess, of well-inspired travels, of, learning something that will help you improve your life back at home.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need a vacation from their vacation.
It's so true. Okay, so I have to tell everyone now that Chris had his first one-liner. So we had a conversation before this for a couple hours, and then one thing I learned is Chris is amazing at one-liners. He just drops them like candy all over the place. It's so we can start count. There's number 1.
I'll get my little ticker going.
We need a whiteboard.
I know, but look forward to more, because I guarantee you there will be more. And those at home, we'll send out a bingo card. Maybe we'll create one that you can download.
Chris Bingo.
I like Chris Bingo. I love that. Yeah. Well, okay. So one of the things I saw on your site, Lauren, is you also do, because you have a ton of certifications in wellness travel that kind of started from was it 2011 that you retired, Chris?
2011, 12, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And it was due like to post-concussion syndrome. So yeah, pretty rough there on the ice. Now, Lauren, what's that?
Or so I've been told.
I also did read up. Yeah, I also did read up that you were you were the defenseman and very
intimidating.
So I've only seen Chris on camera. I didn't know he was 6 foot. And I was like, oh, wow, would not want to go up against that.
It's amazing when I'd be at the games and you would watch as Chris is on, defense on one side, and all the offense would be coming down to the ice, and they'd start to approach Chris. And as soon as they saw Chris, you'd see the sway of all the offensive guys go the other direction. Like, I am not going near that guy.
That's what I would do. I'd be like, it's like my dog when he's walking around. My dog that's a little bit in a bad mood. He just like veers all over the place. Okay, so, but with this, I also saw on the site now, because you started in 2011 after Chris retired, there's just a lot of changes in your family as you were going through this. So you were taking these certifications, and that's where the beginnings of well-inspired travel came from. But those certifications also come in really handy, because you also do consulting with different properties and companies out there that are wanting to integrate or up their wellness travel programs. So for people that are interested in learning more about wellness travel for their clients, what are some of the innovative things that you've been seeing hotels or different properties, companies doing that you think are way ahead of the curve?
Yeah, it's interesting because the industry is just booming, especially coming out of COVID. A lot of people are curious about how to optimize their lives and traveling to properties to learn more, because they're so busy in their everyday life, or maybe they don't have it in their cities. And I've always been fascinated by, there's the wellness travel side of things, and then there's a medical travel side of things. And our clients particularly fall in the sweet spot right in the middle. They're pretty knowledgeable and in touch with their mind, body, and spirit connection, but they're curious about more the biohacking medical space of, how do I go from, which is another one of my big lines is, I'm well, striving to be super well, why the heck not? And so I feel like our clients are very curious on that level of like, hey, I'm pretty well, but I want to feel really super well. Like I want to go above and beyond. That's where a lot of people are nowadays. And with all that is out there, and a lot of these properties are embracing this. Some of them are a little late to the game, which is where my consulting business comes in, because I have all the partners and the connections, and I can step into a property and say, hey, here's where I believe you need to level up, because Chris and myself, when we travel to properties, there are things that we really want to have in place, or else we basically won't travel to that destination. And it's not, being snooty. It's just the daily habits that we want to keep consistent in our life. When we're not at home and doing them at home, then we want to have the ability to do it at that property, or even something that we're curious about doing that we wanted to try before. And that's the same for our clients. So we're, always really staying on top of those properties that are cutting edge, whether that be, a form of contrast therapy, whether it's, learning meditation, breath work, whether it's peptides, now there's stem cells. And there's the biomats, the PEMF mats, the red light therapies, and all of these things come into play. And a lot of these individuals don't have the time, nor do they have them in their homes to explore. And it's so exciting because, as you said, I have all this education. I've got 10 different certifications. So I've been tracking this really since 2011. And to see it come full circle, where properties that, like a Rosewood, a Four Seasons, Montage, Pendries, what have you, are really bringing these into their hotels. But I also think it's a slippery slope, because you have to be careful. These are not clinical based properties as well. You have like a Shaw Wellness, which I'm a huge fan of. I love the owner. I'm actually a Shaw Wellness Master, which was a big honor in the United States. I was the first in the United States. And that is a very clinically based property. So that's a really good fit for certain clients. But some of the other properties, they aren't a clinical destination, but yet they're still adding an element to cutting edge out of the box, not just your gym and your fluffy spa that's going to offer a deep tissue massage. So it's been really exciting to sit back and see how the whole space has evolved. And
there's a lot more to do. We'll link to Shaw Wellness in the show notes for people if they want to check that out as a resource. And then, so you talked about this super well living. Now, that brings up something, because coming up, let's see, it's late November right now. Whenever you're listening to this, December, you are putting on a webinar on your wellness course, because you're putting together this live webinar on the 8 pillars of super living. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I feel like it might be a great training for an advisor that's looking to learn more about how to integrate wellness into their travel agency.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I'm very passionate about. And I agree with you. If there's anybody listening that is a current travel advisor that doesn't know a whole lot about the wellness travel space, or just somebody that's curious about how to go from the well to super well, you definitely don't want to miss December 12th at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to be hosting a live masterclass on the 8 pillars, and it's kind of a sampling of what's to come with the digital course. But essentially, I go through the 8 pillars, and I can name just a few of them. It's well aging, longevity, optimal sleep, nourishing nutrition, mindfulness, biorhythm, soulful connection. These are all basic things that essentially don't cost any money. And it's kind of getting back to what my grandparents, my great grandparents did, versus all the noise in this space. And I've seen it evolve, and it gets very confusing and very overwhelming. I do think, there's a lot of benefits to this whole biohacking culture. And we do it in our everyday life. But I also think it's vitally important to just get back to some of these basic 8 pillars. And on December 12th is where I'm going to be diving into all this. I'll get into kind of all the nerdy health and wellness, just education and terminology. And yeah, there's a lot to come with it. And I think it would be of great interest for individuals that are curious about optimizing their own health, and also maybe it'll help them sell wellness travel too.
Recommend this, Stephanie. Highly recommend it.
Too, right?
I just got a gold star.
Excellent. We'll link to that for people. And is it going to be recorded as well? So if somebody listens to this, okay, cool. Yep. We'll link to it so people can watch that. And then I believe when you launch that course, it'll be on your site, won't it?
Yes, we will have.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. So we'll link to the site as well if people that are listening to this later want to watch that. So Great. One of the things that's kind of interesting is you all work with a bunch of professional athletes, obviously thanks to Chris's connections. And one of the things you talked about before for both of you is, like, Lauren, on your end, you've lived the life of being a partner of a professional athlete. So you understand the challenges that the partners are facing and the frustrations and the other things that come with it. And Chris, you've walked in the shoes of the elite athletes and the needs that come with it and the challenges that come with it. So what sort of unique considerations do you have to think about when you're planning travel for this demographic? So maybe each of you can kind of talk about, Chris, you could talk about athletes, and Lauren, you could talk about the spouses and partners.
Yeah, I think you just have to, part of it is you got to look at the mindset, the understanding of where they are in their career arc, what their needs are based on that. Are they recovering from injury? There's so many different steps that can be involved in figuring exact needs and timing of those needs. Sometimes you have a conversation with their agent to get a little more backstory and understanding of kind of what's going on. A lot of it is mindset related and just, there's so much pressure, so many people pulling on you that a lot of times you're just trying to get away and decompress and kind of reset. More so the mind. The physical stuff is in the gym and in the spa, the health and wellness side of it, but more the mind, body, spirit, as Lauren talked about earlier, is almost more critical than the physical side, and really trying to get your reset and preparing for a summer of training, preparing for the grind of the season, or mid-season, getting a little break and stepping away for 2 or 3 days at a key break in the schedule, and just trying to get a reset and understanding of what your body needs given the toll that it takes.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, the mental aspect of it, but that makes a ton of sense because people focus so much on the body. There's a huge mental toll with all that pressure that you're under.
Well, and I think definitely calming that central nervous system. Having watched Chris, play for 20 years. And when we first traveled, actually the first summer that we met, and I said, hey, when you're off season, I want to go travel the world. That's what I love to do. And it's a big part of who I am. And he was like, well, I can't do that. I can't leave my trainer, my dietitian, all these people in place to, stay top of the game. And I said, actually, if you trust me, and this is 25 years ago, keep in mind the gyms were the size of this podcast room. They're like the size of a broom closet. There was not a whole lot offered for wellness travel. But I was able to tap into, going back to my father's story, more holistic tools to help Chris elevate his game, calming that central nervous system. He spent a lot of minutes in the penalty box. So, I think, as Chris said, sometimes it's just that basic. It's about resetting, learning techniques on proper breathing, mechanics, instead of like they're just being pulled and they're, just on overload from the stress, the toll on their body and the constant travel. They're not sleeping in their own beds. Their circadian rhythms are flipped upside down and they've got cortisol spikes. That's just one component to it, but it's a really big factor that helps players return to their game the next season, a better version of themselves. And I would say, that's the success in what we do because Chris has been in their shoes. And I mean, my God, he's a hockey Hall of Famer. So he did it really well.
And also had 16 surgeries. So I understand the physical side of it too.
Yes.
Both the physical and mental side of recovery, the grind of trying to rehab an injury, the grind of, your mind playing tricks on you. Are you ever going to come back at full strength? Are you ever going to be the same player? On and on and on. All those little things that can creep into an athlete's mind. We kind of walk through and try to calm that down and figure out a solution to get back to 100%. And obviously have conversations with a lot of their team.
Yeah. I think even on a spiritual side too, Chris and myself always talk about we're travel matchmakers. We really are intentional about listening to what they're going through. And like when I talk to the wives and the girlfriends, I'm listening to their struggles. Maybe they're dealing with some marital issues. Maybe they just need to reconnect with their family, or maybe they need a solo trip. Because I've been in their shoes and it looks very glamorous from the outside and it is a blessed life, but there is a lot of pressure for the family. And so a lot of times it shifts into this mentorship side for Chris and myself. And we love that. because we're open books. We're very vulnerable and allowed to share our raw, real journey. And
Mhm.
that creates this beautiful credibility and trust there. And I would say pretty much everything that comes across our desk when we're talking to clients, and these are, referrals to other high net worth individuals or whomever, because we kind of are more in that 4 or 5 star caliber of travel matchmaking. But, most of those things we have dealt with. I mean, for the most part, whether it's injuries, whether it's mental health stuff, like Chris dealt with a lot with his concussions, whether it's sickness. My family had a lot of health crises on my side of the family. I've dealt with burnout in a terrible way. That's why I ended up going back to all this wellness education when he got really sick or when he had a terrible concussion. So there's so many things that aren't pleasant that we share in common with these individuals. And that is, there's just a beautiful dance we play. And I think that has allowed us to be so successful because people not only achieve the value of these beautiful trips that we curate for them, but also good friends that they're like, oh my gosh, like I learned a lot from these individuals. Not that we have it all figured out at all.
Lots still to learn here, Stephanie.
Well, but that's one of the things I really enjoy about you two. Are you're very down to earth, and you make yourself vulnerable, because I think oftentimes, especially in this world with social media, people make things look so beautiful and glamorous all the time, and they cut everything out of the picture frame that isn't beautiful. And there's something really refreshing about talking with people that are like, yes, it is wonderful and all these things that we've been given this life, but there are downsides to it, because I think it's easy for people to forget those, and for them to be able to connect with you, and you guys kind of, it sounds like acting as therapists almost, is
Travel
really helpful.
Yeah, travel matchmaker slash therapist.
Exactly. Well, so what are when you're talking about the different needs of the athletes? So you were saying, say they, and if they're recovering from something, or if they're, need a mental break, or maybe the spouse is, they're having marital trouble. So you take that information and then you build the itinerary around it. If there are there people that, any of your clients that you're introducing them to the first time to these pillars of wellness or to meditation and things like that?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, really? Wow, fun.
Yeah, so that's the beautiful dance that I love, because we have so much to offer in terms of, not only can we align them with these properties, but we can also help on the, or I can at least on the wellness education side. As I was talking about earlier, it could be calming their central nervous system, teaching them about transcendental meditation, and if you learn a practice, how you can gear shift from going from your sympathetic nervous system to your parasympathetic nervous system, literally with the snap of the finger. And to me, that is one of the most powerful tools. I always say I've created this amazing holistic tool belt, which my father taught me at a very young age because he did that for himself. And I'm not against Western medicine, pharmaceuticals. If somebody has, really deep depression or anxiety, then yes, by all means, like I know you need medicine. But for me, I have always been a believer in the power of breath work or meditation to calm my system. And it's a simple shift of the gears because it's all in your mind. And how I really work with clients and in terms of like the wellness consultant side of things is I love to use cold shock therapy, like cold tub submersion for yes,
So chilly.
40 degrees temp, but it's a great laboratory to teach them the shifting through breath work, because as soon as I get in within the first minute, and I have probably done, I don't know, 1,000 dips in my life. And no matter what, my brain is saying, holy crap, what are you doing in here? Fight or flight. My sympathetic nervous system is going, get the heck out of here. And that's a good thing, because God forbid, if a lion is chasing me, I want my brain to be like, or get out, you're in freezing temps. But as soon as you do your breath work or your meditation, and I practice a couple different versions, but like a 4-7-8, I can shift my brain in a minute to drop into the most calm trance mode of the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest. And I look at all my wearables. I've got a Whoop and Aura Band, and I've got a CGM, and I literally can see it in real time, 24/7, how it will stress up to stress down. And that shift that I can teach individuals It could be somebody that deals with anxiety or, fear of flying, what have you. That is the most powerful tool you can have in that weapon. And when I do it through that cold shock therapy, it's just the coolest thing ever, because no matter what in my day, I can practice some form of breath work and be in this calm place.
Yeah.
And we're living in this world where it's just like a metabolic crisis and so much stressors and overstimulation. We all need to live in our parasympathetic nervous system way more than our sympathetic. That's like my happy place. And we all need to be in that more. And as I said, our ancestors lived in that more because they lived more basic lives. They didn't have technology and all this stuff flying at them all the time. And so my goal is always to kind of work with individuals as we're aligning them with properties, but also kind of really helping them on the consultant side, which obviously really lights me up.
Yeah, and I'm just going to also put in a plug for meditation. For me,
Yes.
a lot of listeners know that I suffer from a pretty serious health condition and have a lot of chronic pain, and it was life changing for me. Lauren and I talked about this for hours, but it was life changing for me when I learned how to do meditation, and didn't the medications they tried me on didn't touch anything. And the things that changed my life the most was learning how to meditate and controlling my breathing and just being more aware of my body. So, and I think, whether you're an athlete, you have a disease, whether, whatever your background is, for an entrepreneur, there's a lot of stress and pressure that comes with it. So I think for any entrepreneur that's listening to this, it's worth looking into, even if, say, you don't have pain or anything along those lines. It's really great for you and being able to come down when you're really stressed out.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Look at that. Yes.
Yeah. So for meditation, well, let's see. I want to chat more about, like I said earlier, one of the things I really enjoy about both of you is kind of your down to earthness. And we had talked earlier. Now I'll have Chris say this because I told them earlier I can't
Are you
swear
ready?
because people laugh. But you have a certain policy that's out there that you've built in your business. What is?
Are you talking about the no asshole policy? Life is too short, Stephanie.
Yeah. You just don't want to deal with that. And I love that that's one of your policies. And
You say that about me too, but you know what?
well, tell me more about how you find these before they get through your screening process, because I think for a lot of advisors, they're afraid to fire clients, and they're like, we want this client. And obviously you're working with probably really ultra high net worth individuals, and they could be really great bookings, but yet you still have this policy. So tell me more.
Yeah, I think it's more just about appreciating what we do, appreciating how we can help them. Just like we appreciate their business, they need to appreciate what we do.
Yeah.
How we do it and what we provide. I think a lot of times people are scared to lose business. People are scared because it's such a great booking, and they're willing to, for lack of a better term, eat crow.
Yeah.
And I'm not willing to do that, and nor is she, nor is anybody on our staff.
Yeah.
There's been a handful of times where people have treated some of our staff untoward, and it's just a quick conversation of, we don't appreciate that. We don't
Do business that way.
And we don't expect it to continue. And maybe you get one strike, if that. Certainly, we'll know if it's a pattern or just by the response to having a quick conversation with somebody. They're gonna, whether they feel entitled that they think they're paying and they can treat us however they want, then they're not a client anymore. Walk away and let somebody else have the opportunity to deal with them. And
I don't know if I would call it an
a lot of
opportunity.
experience with this, because a lot of our business is referrals. And
Have like a pretty.
yeah, we have an onboarding call. We have a call before the onboarding call just to get to know people, to just see if we're a good fit. We're not always a good fit for people. And if we're not, we'll certainly recommend them to other people we know in the business that might be. And I think that's the nice part about where we're at in our business, is that we understand that we're not a fit for everybody, just like everybody's not a fit for us. And we're okay with that. We understand that. So we go into each call without any expectation. We're just asking questions. They're asking questions. And right away out of the gate, we tell them, we're just trying to see if you're a good fit for us. And just like you're trying to see if we're a good fit for you. And we just start asking questions, getting to know one another if we don't know each other already. Again, normally it's through a referral, and there's already been some conversation of, hey, by the way, so-and-so, I'm going to give a referral to you guys. Here's kind of what they're all about, blah, blah, blah. Here's what they're looking for. And you kind of start the conversation that way, and then just kind of try to peel back a few of the onion layers to get to know one another a little bit better. And as Lauren said, very, very, very few people check the box in the latter.
I love that, though, that you're at that stage where you feel comfortable and confident. You have this base group of people that you're working with. You're attracting through the referrals the type of people that you like to work with. And Lauren, on your
one thing that I forgot to mention,
yes,
that I think is critical for people listening to know, mistakes happen, and there's in all things we do. We're all about, life is about mistakes, and then but really what it is about how you handle them afterwards.
Yep.
And I think for our team and for our company, we want to get out in front of the mistakes, and we want to, if they're our fault, we accept that, and we'll rectify it and figure out a resolution to them, or make it right.
Yeah,
a lot of mistakes though.
We don't have a lot, but when you
Pretty
do,
perfect.
but when you do make mistakes, you need to own them, and you need to step forward and be like, that was on us, and we'll fix it.
No, I think that's a great point, because I was just having a conversation with other business owners the other day about how if you're trying out a new product or pitching something different, you can't guarantee it's going to come out okay. And so if you're going into it with some kind of a partnership with someone and they're paying you for it, if it doesn't work out, it's kind of on you to say like, oh, I'm sorry, that didn't work out, and to make amends somehow so that it works out okay. So I think acknowledging mistakes or when things don't work out as planned is really key. It's not a weakness, it's definitely a strength.
I agree.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And Lauren, you had a great blog, because your blog is fun to read, and there's one with a picture of you wearing a hat with one of your slogans.
Yes.
Ah, yes.
Tell us more about that, and I'll link to that blog post for those that want to read it.
Thank you. On the note of what Chris said, no assholes. My line is be effing kind. And
Chris is our potty mouth here.
Yes. So it's just that simple. That we need more of that in this world. And as you talked about, I'm a good old Midwestern girl. He's a good old Canadian guy. And we're just kind of come from simple upbringings and all about just being a good person, being kind, good, strong work ethic, being honest. And I love it. It's my favorite travel hat, actually, because so often, people are assholes. If
every plane ride she's got on.
Yes. And it's just a gentle reminder to people. And, I always look at the people at the airport, and they're working so hard. And it's like a smile, a gentle, like, thank you I appreciate all that you're doing. And I have my hat on, and they're like, God, you're amazing. But it's just those little acts of kindness. Just be kind. Like, it doesn't take that much energy and time. And it makes a huge difference in everybody's lives.
Yeah. And it makes your life a lot better too, because people are a lot nicer to you when you're nice to them.
And you just feel better about yourself. So he's the no asshole policy, and I'm just the be effing kind.
But same lesson you're trying to portray.
Mesh together.
It's funny though, because they kind of fit your personalities too.
His is more bold and to the point, and mine's a little bit more gentle.
Yeah. Because I feel like, if I'm remembering correctly, that hat is also like the words are in rainbow. Is that right?
Yeah. And it's in cursive. So it's actually kind of hard to read until you really look at it. And then people just start dying laughing, especially like people that know me. I'm not one that throws out the F-bomb like across the table here.
Accidentally on purpose? What?
Yeah, he does enough of that for both of us. And so they're like, oh my God, the fact that you're wearing that hat is so good. But maybe we could get a no asshole hat.
Oh my gosh, you do.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a moment after a quick word from our sponsor.
The people here at KHM, they're just remarkable.
KHM has the most amazing groups department. They have been an amazing part of my success.
KHM just took me in. I mean, the resources that I had available to me, reading videos, I knew absolutely nothing in this industry. I didn't even know that there was even a real travel agent anymore.
I've been an agent for 7 years, and I've been with KHM for 2 years, and it has been the most amazing 2 years because they are just from Rick Zimmerman all the way to little old me. Like the whole company is just an amazing, amazing company. So I do not have any regrets about moving with KHM.
Your contact, your relationship with your fellow agents here at KHM, it's just a world of knowledge. This is where you're going to learn it all.
Visit KHM Travel's YouTube channel to hear more from our agents and learn about our exclusive resources and support.
Well, okay, so next up, one of the things when you go to your site, it's very prominent. Like what I really enjoy about like visiting your website is it is like, here, this is who we are, this is who we like to work with. And you're very clear about putting your family first. The family, including your pups, are featured prominently on your website and your 3 kiddos. So there is a challenge, though, that comes with working with your spouse or your partner, because that work-life balance, there isn't really one because you live together. So do you have any tips for people that are looking to go into business or that are in business with their spouse or partners on how you make things work?
Can I start?
Enjoy.
Yes. So kind of going back to when I started Well Inspired Travels, and Chris was helping me on the side, and I was building all this out in 2017, building out this beginning website, and he was helping me on the business development financial side, and I was greatly appreciative for that. And the business was really working more with the girlfriends and the wives of all these different professional athletes from all different sports. And he's watching what I was doing, and he said, gosh, this looks like a lot of fun. And I think, I might want to join up with you. And I said, wow, okay, that'd be amazing, because we're that much more powerful together. And he knows all these athletes and he knows all the agents, and that's his world. And so I said, okay, this is great. And of course the kids got a kick out of it because they're like, wait, Mom, is Dad working for you? Did you just hire Dad? I was like, yes, I did.
Sure did.
Point number one.
Number one. But going back to, I told you I was applying to law school when we first met. So kind of wearing my lawyer hat, I drew up a contract when we first decided to go into Well Inspired Travels together. And the top 3 stipulations, one was it could never affect our marriage and it could never affect our family and so on and so forth. But the 2, those are the most important. And that means you have to put protective boundaries around both of those. And we would have to step aside from business or figure out what we were going to do. That was definitely, like in place there. So kind of getting back to your question, I think, it is very challenging. I mean, there have been ups and downs. I mean, when we bumped into COVID with the travel business, it was really challenging too.
Yeah.
And just the day-to-day, nonsense that goes on, you have to be mindful about learning to step away, turn it off, shut the computer, and shift your brain out of that workplace and come back to husband and wife and mother and father, and really nurturing that relationship and removing the work hat. And it's hard. It's challenging. I think we've gotten better as we have gone along, but Chris and myself are big fans of going on walks, getting out in fresh air, always a couple times throughout the day. So usually by, I would say 4:35, we like to turn everything off, get out, step out in nature. And as Chris said, a lot of times the first 5-10 minutes might be fiery of something that if it is, there's something going on,
She's very stubborn, Stephanie.
I can see you're so laid back and you're just like, let everyone walk all over you.
But, you get that out and you deal with it, and then you shift and you talk about other things that are more important about, like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your struggles right now? What are our children doing? What do they need help with? And getting out in nature is just a wonderful thing. Breathing in that fresh air and moving the body, connecting with your loved one, having some laughter, going home, having a wonderful dinner. And you know what? You wake up the next day and you get back into that hat of work mode. So that would be my tips of just creating those strict boundaries, because it can really eat you up as an individual and as a couple. And like Chris said, there's always stuff that's always going to go on. And we do our best, and we've got an incredible back office team that handles emergency situations. And we feel so confident in them handling those that we can say, okay, Tomorrow, when we get back into in front of our desk, like then we can deal with that. But it's not going to destroy our marriage or our family that night. There's no way. You've got to create those boundaries.
Mother Nature is undefeated. When you get out and
One liner. There it was.
when you think about
Yeah.
just getting fresh air, just getting the blood flow going, stimulates the mind, gets everything going, and as Lauren said, you get stuff out the table. But I think at the end of the day, being an entrepreneur, it can be very stressful. Whether you're running this type of business or any other business, it's very stressful. You can become 24/7 if you let it.
Yep.
You have to set up those boundaries and those guardrails to a certain extent, depending upon what business you're in, so that it doesn't take over your whole life and create issues on the home front. And okay, the business is working good, but the home front is not, and vice versa. So you need to really find that happy medium and that balance.
I like the way that you get things out in the open right away when you have these dedicated times to go for walks together. But
That was
you
my
don't
idea.
say, I feel like I should have had a little scorecard here, and then I would have, to keep Chris entertained and happy during this, I would have put stars and been like, he did the triple cup and he got 10 stars on the podcast today.
Gold stars. Yay, Chris.
But it's great because I think a lot of people will be like, well, we just don't talk about work after we get off. But, when we were talking earlier, you said that's not realistic sometimes. So when we go out on this walk, we take the first little bit of it to get out whatever we need to get out. And then we move forward from there. And then when we clock back in, we work on things. But because I think you're right that sometimes it's just not realistic that you can't talk about work after a certain point. And I think having dedicated times where you're together and you can try not to talk about work, but if you need to in the very beginning, you can, and then you have your couple time to kind of strengthen that side of the relationship.
A similar analogy would be when couples go out for dinner and all they do is talk about their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's other things going on, but all you do is talk about your kids, and it's a very similar platform where you need to check up on how the kids are doing. You need to check up on all those things, but you're immersed in that all day long.
Yeah.
Be fairly quick and then get into other pressing needs. Yeah,
because it's easy. Well, I don't have children, but I imagine it's easy to kind of forget yourselves because the kids need so much help. And then, I've seen through people when they're empty nesters, they're kind of like, who am I? What?
Yeah.
Who are we?
Yeah.
So, well, one of the other things when we're talking about boundaries is you're working with luxury clients and ultra high net worth individuals sometimes. And they, luxury clients sometimes can be a little bit more demanding. If you're spending $100,000 on a trip and you probably have a little bit more weight in saying, hey, I want this, or getting upset about things. So I'm wondering, how do you put those boundaries up, where you're still providing that great customer service that you're known for, but also you're not being walked over and you're being respected, and your weekends and nights aren't handling things because someone decided they needed to call you because they forgot the date they were leaving or something.
I think you just need to create the expectations right up front. As we just talked about, you got to be upfront on all facets of it. And it's, once you create those expectations, we're here to help create memories of a lifetime and create spectacular trips for you. But there is a line.
It's like a partnership.
Yeah.
Like the trust of, hey, you guys, you have to do your things. We can't be calling you and say, hey, set your alarm. Your flight leaves at 4:00 in the morning.
There's a balance there, but ultimately it's creating and setting the expectations up front. We're going to do our best job in setting up the travel, in listening to what you want, talking through it as we're booking it to get an understanding of, does this sound like what you were expecting? And oh, by the way, here's other things that we think, based on our conversations, what we think will add to the value of the experiences that you're about to embark on. And then from there, you as you get to know people further along, as you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trips for them, you have a much better understanding as to how they operate, how we operate.
Yep.
And from those experiences, it becomes a little more seamless.
That's great. I want to move into another section where we're kind of going to talking about this client experience that you've created. So it sounds like in the beginning, you set up the expectations, you let them know, well, Chris had a great one liner that I'm going to throw out and claim for my own. It was something like, I'm going to mess this up. It was like, we were with you. No, yeah, we were with you, not for you. I think,
Correct.
was that it?
Stephanie, you get a gold star.
Yeah.
Well done.
I deserve it, except for I always ruin things because I have to think them over. They don't just come out sounding naturally. I'm like, oh, how did Chris say it? It was so good.
When you
But-
think of the statement, we work with you, not for you, it's, as Lauren said, it's a partnership. Are working in conjunction with you to try to create the most value and the greatest experiences possible in whatever you're doing. And that needs to be together.
Yep.
You barking orders, we're the experts, and we're trying to help guide and steer the process to wherever that is. And whatever the client wants and needs are two different things.
Exactly. And the partnership, I think, is so key because everyone's going to be miserable if they're just feeling like it's not a partnership and they're working for someone and they're not respected. And so that's important for all advisors to kind of think about if they're feeling unsatisfied with their relationship with their clients, to look at what the root cause is of it. And it might just be Chris's one liner. So think about it.
There you go.
Thank you, Chris. I learned from a wise man one time in my life. And you do a lot of, you've talked about this during this call, but a lot of discovery work with the clients. What are their goals? What are their desires? So what are the most important questions that you're asking during this discovery call and process? Because I know you've referred to Lauren as the Barbara Walters because she loves to do interviews.
She's the Barbara Walters of travel
Yes.
and wellness.
I am. You know what? I'm so inquisitive and curious on what people's interests are. What are their goals? What are their bucket list trips? What are the challenges that they're, like, I want to explore this area of wellness, or I want to feel more optimal in this area, and really digging in on these onboarding calls. And as I said, the travel matchmaking term that I go back to, and it's all about listening with intention. And then basically saying, okay, what are those things and how can we put them in touch with the right properties for the outcome to be successful? And I ask a lot of probing questions on, it could be, are you dealing with, some mental health issues? Are you dealing with some sleep issues? Are you curious about hormone optimization? Are you trying to shed some weight? What are your goals? Are you, trying to, because a lot of times, people who are trying to shed weight, they don't realize like eating should be about feeling well. It shouldn't be about weight or to be skinny. And I think there's a misconception there. So it's really listening to their goals and what they're trying to achieve throughout their travels. What's that?
Styles.
Styles.
How they like to travel.
And it doesn't even have to be wellness. It could be, a multi-gen trip. It could be, like a honeymoon. It could be
Culinary, language, history, like just really kind of digging into what they're trying to get out of their travels. And then kind of going from there.
Yeah. And so each onboarding kind of takes its own shape, and we have our whole team is on and everybody's taking copious notes. And then
wait, your whole team is on the call with the clients?
The key players, the air team, not so much, and Sabre and so forth, but really our main, key team members are all there on the call, that first call. And then we step away and have an internal meeting. And that's where the fun really takes place, because there's a lot of banter of, this is a good fit. No, that's not a good fit. And this is, it's like everybody's shooting it down or agreeing. And we like to condense it usually to at least, 3-4 properties that we can present them with and put it in a beautiful, as we were talking about, Planet Easy. That's the system we use. And present them with a beautiful itinerary, and then let them review it, go over it with their spouse, their family, whomever it is they're going to be traveling with. And, they'll come back with more questions and maybe some tweaks. And and then we all hop on again. And it's, you just really start to streamline and narrow the focus for ultimate success.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also going to link to, for those that don't know, we just launched our travel agency software technology profiles on the site, along with the host agency one. So Planet Easy has one on there. It's got the reviews, more information on it as an itinerary builder. So we will link to that. And if you haven't checked out the software list, travel tech software list, make sure to check it out. Super
Yeah,
fun.
yes. The technology at Planet Easy is amazing. It's a one-stop shop.
That's great to hear. It's been really fun actually launching these travel agency software profiles, since I'm not on the agency side anymore. I'm not in itinerary builders. I'm not in the website builders, CRMs anymore. So it's fun to read the other advisors' take on things to get a feel for them. Because all I know is from visiting their website, which of course doesn't give you the real world examples that you do with reviews.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I wanted to check in. Okay, when we had chatted earlier, I was saying on your site, I liked how you had the different destinations that were there, and then when you click on the destinations, there might be some regions or whatever, but you have a list of a couple different hotels that you've selected. And you had surprised me because you said, actually, we're moving towards having more private communications on our recommendations rather than having them on the site like that. So can you tell me a little more about that and the strategy behind it?
Yes. I learned it the hard way, unfortunately. So anybody listening here, take my advice. When I first started, in 2018, I loved to write, and I really enjoyed the process of always taking copious notes on our travels and journaling, whether it's restaurants that we went to, the food we ate, the experiences we did, hiking and what have you. And that is ultimately what I was sharing with a lot of the clients in the early days. And so it naturally turned into these blogs, which I had so much fun. And I'd put them up on the website, and I'd add all of our personal photos and so forth. And I found myself shooting myself in my own foot, because then the feedback was like, it's same thing with social media. Like, our Instagram is all pretty much stock photos. We've had times where we sprinkled in some personal content, but really people were looking at social media, and they were looking at all the blogs, and they were like, hey, thanks so much for all your insights. I was so excited I booked it on my own. And I was like, oh, great. Thank you. I'm so glad that I did all my.
So glad we were able to help.
Yeah.
And thank you for telling us, because that was just the knife in the heart that I needed.
It was like, do you have any brain cells? Like, would you realize we're travel advisors and we book for you? That's the whole goal. The incentive is, hey, here's my nuggets to share, and then call us and we'll book it for you. But anywho, I had to learn that the hard way. And so I figured out a process of just creating private newsletters for our Well Inspired Travels clients. And that's where I share, which is nice because it's on lockdown, and it's like our little secret newsletter that we share with the clients that actually book with us. And you want to talk about high level knowledge and value there. That's where we have all the good nuggets. So yeah, I've learned that has been the best route for us, and our clients certainly enjoy it. And more to come on that. I'm always developing. I've got something else very exciting up my sleeve that's going to be launching. I know I shared with you, Stephanie, going to be launching probably in the spring.
Squirrel there. I like that, ladies.
It's going to be very exciting, and I look forward to sharing it with people in the travel space.
I can't wait. So you guys should all follow Lauren's. We'll put the Instagram account up, maybe would be the best one.
Yeah, I would put, so as I said, Well Inspired Travels, the Instagram is there, but it's nice, beautiful photos and so forth. But for the time that it takes, and I was doing it all, and it
No,
was.
she's asking for your Lauren Pronger.
I know. So Lauren Pronger is Lauren. It's Lauren _ Pronger.
Stephanie loves it. Cut to the chase, right, Chris? I'm like,
I
asked for Instagram.
I
Just give
know,
it to her.
but I wanted to explain. Like, people will go up and they'll be like, "There's no."
I'm gonna say, those of you that are not watching the video version are really missing out.
Oh God, you better get on the video here because it's an actual.
Yeah, you audio people need to check it out on the YouTube channels, because there's a lot of fun stuff happening here.
Yes, there is. And Stephanie's dogs in the background. Look how cute they are.
Yeah, lots of puppy visiting, coming back and forth. They're just so sweet.
We
Stars
love
of the show.
Yes, I love it. Dog lovers here.
Yep, exactly. Well, okay. I want to move into some kind of continuing education or for people that are interested in learning more about wellness travel. So, what are some of the places that you really like to learn about either travel or what's going on with wellness trends that people that want to look into this space or add this as a service, where would you recommend?
You gonna start?
Shoot.
So, in terms of properties and learning the properties out there,
Well, I would say I'd open to anything. It could be about properties. Like, where are your favorite places where you're like, I love the way they feed me the content. I learn a ton. It's so worth visiting every time.
gosh, I've got a lot of different resources. And for me, it's even looking at, Travel and Leisure Magazine, Condé Nast, like staying on top of all that. And then on the wellness front, really staying on top of what is going on, cutting edge biohacking space and so forth, and the properties, what they're doing. We do a lot of webinars with our partners, and
Hmm.
they'll update us. Or if we're boots on the ground at actual properties, we love to, if we're in a city, we'll strategically line up, visiting 4 or 5 different properties. We may not stay at them, but we'll spend 2 hours with our wonderful partners and also friends there, and they love to show us around and show us, hey, here are the new updates that we've done, at our in our wellness space here, what have you. And because the success of what we're doing is staying on top of all of it and sharing it with our clients. There are, I mean, some websites, I feel like,
Better to get it from the
yeah,
properties themselves because it's ever evolving. They're constantly updating, renovating.
Oh,
They
yeah.
1,000 square foot spa. Now they're building a 90,000 square foot spa. They're constantly trying to outdo one another or try to adapt to what the marketplace is showing them. And from that, you then hear about the new properties, like, oh yeah, we're building this new property, and so's got one right over there, and you just start learning from I guess the
yeah.
insiders.
Yeah, and if we're
Mhm.
not boots on the ground, like I said, we do webinars. We go to a lot of wellness summits too. Of course, myself and Joy, that's more on the wellness, side of things. And then, we'll go to different travel shows from time to time where they have the segments that are more wellness focused. Obviously, Virtuoso, BTW. And it's really all about continuing and nurturing those friends and partnerships that we have. I mean, I feel like we could pick up the phone and call a lot of them and, find out kind of, hey, what have you updated since we last sent a client there? And also on the, wellness consultant side too, when I go to these properties and I'm helping build out, new projects, I'm really right there immersed in everything that they're doing. And I'm passionate about seeing these properties evolve and change so that they're ultimately successful, because I want to send clients to these properties. And if I'm like, hey, you need to up your game in this area because I'm not
Yeah.
going to send our clients here, that makes me so happy because then it's rewarding for them. And then I can continue to send clients to them as well. And I'm all about, like using the certain locations from, a cultural standpoint and building out really unique health and wellness offerings for what they have there. Like, for example, in Mexico, I was working with a property and with a Temescal and creating a whole really cool contrast therapy area where they have the sweat lodge, the Temescal, and right next to it, like a big horse trough with the ice tubs, and it's not anything fancy. It actually was very, cost efficient. They didn't have to get the fancy $8,000 plunge tub. They had a
Hmm.
horse trough right there. And you line a bunch of them up, and the clients, people love it. And it's, spiritual, and it's Mayan ritualistic with the Temescal and everything. So that's just an example of, things that I like to help assist with and thinking outside of the box.
Yeah. Is there, when it comes to the wellness summits you mentioned going to, is there one that's a favorite of yours that you would recommend?
I love, we're big fans. Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, she's a good friend too. She wrote Forever Strong. Excellent book. I know you're asking about books later, but that might be one of the top ones. Muscle centric medicine. And muscle is the key to longevity, truthfully. And she's brilliant. She's got an incredible summit called Forever Strong Summit. This year it's going to be in Houston in April. I'm just giving my girl a plug right now. But she has incredible speakers and ranging from all different areas, from nutrition to the medical side of things to Evie does speaking and
it's very well rounded.
Yes, it's on all areas from medical to truly just
medical, mental, physical,
spiritual.
Like it kind of touches everything, which is really nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
top ones.
Okay. Well, so Dr. Gabrielle Lyon and then the Forever Strong Summit.
Yep. And her book is Forever Strong.
Cool. We'll link to those in the show notes for those that are interested. And then I wanted to ask you both, and you can each answer this separately, is if you could go back 6 years in time to 2018 when you started and could give yourself one piece of advice as an agency owner that would make your life a lot easier, what would you tell yourselves?
Shoot.
I would start a fee structure day one.
Day one. When did you start to implement it?
Far too late. I think it was a year and a half into it. I would say and even when we did implement it, it was like still too soft. And it really.
COVID did not help.
Yeah. That's
true. Yeah. I didn't think about that.
We were getting ready to implement it and COVID happened and it just.
And then we kicked it, down the road.
Then we kind of kicked it down the can. We're going to start not thinking COVID was going to last as long as it did.
Yeah.
And it just.
But then we really heavily implemented. Yeah.
We value our time.
Yeah. And it holds people accountable from not being assholes, like Chris said.
Exactly.
So often you get people that are just window shopping and they're like, hey, I really want to go on this trip or whatever. And we do all this work and our team does all this work and we present them with all these options and then they take it and they book on their own. And it's like, no, you're not going to do that to us. And like Chris said, our time is too valuable. So anybody listening, implement a fee structure right now. Stop what you're doing and get it going.
It's something I hear a lot from agency owners on their advice to their former selves. And we'll link to our article we have about charging fees. That gives you lots of great information on like the rates people are charging, if that's something you're nervous about and wanting to be competitive, the verbiage that people use when they're telling their clients, because that can be a little uncomfortable for some people. And then there's also some creative ways I've seen advisors do it. If it feels so uncomfortable to you that in the beginning you're like, I don't have the knowledge and the expertise, I shouldn't be charging for it. We had an advisor that I think when she opened her agency, she said for the first 6 months, she put out like a promo code or a coupon that if you used it, they would waive the consultation fee. So that way she didn't charge it for the first 6 months to a year. But then her clients knew that was something in the future, because that's something that's uncomfortable for people, is asking people that have worked with them before to now charge a fee. So that's a fun way around it.
Yeah, no, for sure. What's yours? Years ago.
6 years ago. It's a long step. I don't even remember what I did 3 weeks ago.
I don't even remember what I did this morning.
Wow.
So
6 years ago.
With Well-Inspired Travels.
With Well-Inspired Travels.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. With the company. I would say don't be solely focused on one group of people. In the beginning, it was all about athletes. And now it's athletes, entrepreneurs, high net worth individuals. We do group travel. And just from referrals and people that we've been introduced to, our business has kind of evolved, and athletes are a part of our business, but not completely our business, which is nice.
That's a great lesson too. Because I always, I work with a lot of new advisors, and I always talk with them about how, they'll think so hard on what their niche is, which is important to do. But I'll always let them know that your agency is going to evolve over time. Even if you have a niche, you're going to figure things out. You're going to figure things out that work differently, or, so not to think too heavily on things in the beginning. Think about it so that you're getting good information, you're making a good decision, but don't get stuck on that, because businesses are dynamic and they change over time.
They do. You have to be willing to evolve.
Yep, exactly. Well, this brings us to our last segment, where we ask the same question to everyone, and I'm really curious what yours are going to be. So I
ready.
want to know which person, book, technology has been indispensable to the growth of Well-Inspired Travels, and then why?
You want me to go? You go.
You can start.
I read a book called Buy Back Your Time
Oh,
by Dan.
okay.
There you
And
go.
yeah,
Know this one. What is it about? Buy back your
buy
time.
back your time. Basically, just you get busy, like, oh, I can take that meeting. I can take that meeting. And your time is very valuable. There's only so much of it to go around, and be conscious of that. Understand what you're doing. Set barriers and boundaries for when you want to take meetings. You need personal time too to think about the business and understand how to grow, how you want to evolve the business. Setting up systems and training and all the things that revolve around running a business.
Yeah.
You get so focused on client development that you're just like do, and you need time for other things, and you need time for yourself, for your family, and for all these things, and you really need to be focused on that.
I'm going to look this up afterwards. Thanks.
Is that my mic drop?
Wow.
Yes.
I'm pretty excited about this, and I especially like when I haven't heard of a book that before. Buy back your time.
It's
I got
very,
another one. Traction is another really good one.
Traction?
Gino Wickham. Okay.
Gino Wickham.
Gino Wickham.
Yeah.
There you go. But it's an
I
excellent
think it's
book.
Gino Wickham.
Yeah,
Let me
you better fact check that.
I'm gonna fact
But
check
it's
myself.
excellent for productivity, again, time management, team, kind of basically giving everybody their roles and responsibilities, staying in your own lane, work smarter, not harder.
Oh, yeah. That's a
all
good
of
one.
That's an excellent one. If we're talking books, but I would say in terms of technology, Planet Easy has been a game changer, which I touched on earlier. But it's keeps everything really under one umbrella, and then having a really good task management system, whether you use Asana. I'm also a big fan of Basecamp, which is for visual learners and people that need the visual like task, because it keeps them in different buckets. So those are my technologies. And to top it off, I would say to this man across from me, that has been the success of the business, because I couldn't do it without him. And he's a lot of fun.
I'm
And
blushing.
yeah, I mean, ching. I should get all the stars.
I know this feels like this was a last minute goal at the end where she just took everything.
8-7 in overtime. Oh my God. Green.
Yes. Do I get the Stanley Cup?
You get the three gold, the golden triple crown, whatever.
Maybe a gold globe that I can hold up.
No.
No.
Really, that's so sweet. Chris, which person has been most indispensable to you as you grew your agency?
Well played, Lauren. Well done.
She did really
Left.
Yes.
You're right, my left.
yeah, that was a surprise, and wow, Lauren took the cake. I love it.
Moment. Well done.
I mean,
Yep.
that was my goal all along.
Yeah, she waited in the wings
I
till
did.
she was ready.
I knew it was coming.
Well, it has been a pleasure to have you both on today. Thank you so much for your time. Because for those that don't know, I'll talk with the guests on the Travel Agent Chatter podcast for a couple hours beforehand, just to get them to know a little better. So it's not just the time that they're on the podcast. They've invested a couple hours beforehand so that we can make this a very valuable podcast episode for you. So thank you both for all the time you've put in and for sharing all your knowledge.
Appreciate it.
You,
Thanks, Stephanie.
Oh my gosh, you're an incredible host, and you really do have this down quite well, because I think the homework that you do and the whether you want to, the pre-call and all the questionnaires and so forth, it's really helpful, and it's been an enjoyable process, and you are an absolute pleasure to visit.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yes.
Oh, thank you all, and thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
And thank you.
Hey, well, a whole lot of time has passed since we told you about hosting in our intro, and I bet you have not registered. But guess what? You can now. So head on over to hostagencyreviews.com/hostweek to register, or you can follow the link in the description, whichever is easiest for you. You can join over 3,000 other advisors during the last week in January for a party celebrating all things hosted advisors. You can also read a transcript, view the show notes,